All right, so we're gonna jump in. If you weren't here yesterday, you missed out. But today I'm gonna at least kind of set up a few things on AI so we'll repeat just a little tiny bit. But for the most part, my goal today is actually like get into ChatGPT and actually show you kind of like how I set things up, how I would actually run from beginning to end and make it work. And so I do have a few questions up front though. And so let's kind of run through these really quick. This first one, like, what do you use for generative AI? So as you're voting on that, there's a bunch of options you could pick from. Just so you know, at least ChatGPT free, you're going to struggle with, 100%. Both audio and screen. Just lowly AI bot. I think Otter is the only person watching this in Zoom all by himself. But yeah, so if you're one of these on ChatGPT free, one of the things I'm going to show you today is projects, and that is the reason to upgrade. Like, of all the reasons to upgrade, project folders are the reason. That and building GPTs, and so that will be something. And you can, I think it's monthly, and so you can sign up for $20 a month, go test it. As we jump to say Claude calls them projects. Grok does have projects. They also have some other things. Copilot, I believe, has projects. If you're using Gemini, they're called gems. I just started using Perplexity. It has projects. And so luckily for us, all of these chat interfaces, they pretty much have given up on user interface design. They basically are just swapping their colors in, and pretty much all the functionality works the same way. And so regardless of which one you're using, like 99% will work the same exact way. Make sense to everybody? And so you just kind of have to know the core part. So yeah, bunch of free users. I'll give you just a second more. We have, like, people are still signing in a little bit. So question on the free. Who in here wants to tell me why you're still using free versus paid? I mean, besides the fact it's $20. I know you guys spend more than $20 a week at Swig or at Starbucks though. So I know, huh? Oh no, it's per month. It's a monthly fee. Is it like, because the company hasn't paid for it yet? You don't have to log in. Really?
Yeah.
Then how does it?
No, you have to log in. It stores your email. That's how it gives you an account.
You don't have to. It doesn't save your account.
Well, okay. Okay. Yeah, there may be a public interface that doesn't log in. I would personally log in. Also, it's training the model. Yeah.
And one of the things that we didn't understand, the AI that I felt would really work for me and my company in the future way. I was much more convinced, but I think the thing that took it over the top for me is I really was the training to learn how to work with AI and in a way that really maximized the business a lot easier to work with. And I have once a quarter I have the HR learning development executive that I work with in sort of quarterly that. And it's really interesting because the questions they have about AI, one of them is how do we know what is the right tool to invest in? But I think that also will come back. And then I was reading the other day an article that said one of the other challenges is the management. Who's going to actually manage the AI in the optimal sense of the right output?
Right.
So there's some of that for instance, but all of those things, I know for me, we have to share for me or my central I'm totally back from just paying the $20.
100%. Yeah, and it is like, the funny thing is, it's like, I'm not sure to invest in it until I know I can lock it down, but the free account isn't locked down, meaning like your information is going in to train their model by default. I think the second one of like, it does suck once you get into ChatGPT and then you're like, oh, I wish I used Claude, and now all your stuff is stored in there. Honestly, they are not that different model to model. And the people that you hear talking about, oh my gosh, Gemini is so much better than Claude, yada yada, are generally relying on just a prompt and not actually giving it context. If you do a great job of building prompts and giving it context, I could use my Facebook glasses if they were here to write a blog post, if I could give it the right context, and it would be just as good. And so, yeah, I think a lot of it is, oh my gosh, there's all this noise. I don't know which tool to pick. And so I'm not picking any tool. Long term, even if you had to rebuild some of your stuff, so store them in Google Drive, store the instructions for your projects. If you end up having to switch, go and copy and paste like entire threads, put them in Google Drive and attach them as a knowledge base. And so, all right, this next one, how much do you use generative AI? And it lets you vote twice. So I want you to think about this like two questions. The one on the left is like, how often? But the one on the right is like, how are you using it? Like, oh, I just wing it. Oh, I borrow prompts. Maybe I get them from TikTok or something. Or like, no, I feel like I'm an expert at prompting. These on the right, I'm assuming most of you aren't going to put yes on. I'm assuming most people in here have not. Has anybody built an AI agent? Okay. Who's built a GBT? Okay. And so I'm assuming that that's kind of like pretty edge case. Most of us, if we're lucky, we're using projects. And I think when we get done today, you'll probably like, I'm using project, but not the way Ryan uses them. Right. And so that's okay. So yeah, daily, nonstop. There's at least one of us in here. Okay, perfect. I wing it, I wing it, I wing it. Awesome. Right. So I have two more we're going to talk through. One is going to be, what have you used it for effectively? Meaning it actually worked. And I think if you have an organization, people, these questions, like go and you can use AHA slides, do the same. I've done this with entire companies. So my questions might be like, instead of their name and email address, I might ask what their job title and their department is when they sign in. And then asking these same four questions like, hey, what are you guys using? This seems like a weird question to ask your team, but most organizations have no clue. What are you guys using? You can even, on AHA slides, you can make it actually anonymous. And so if you're worried your team's not going to give you more information, then don't have them sign in. Have them literally just say, how much do you use it? One of the questions I asked was like, how sad would you be if we took it away? Like, and that gives you an idea of usage from the sentiment of that question, especially when it was like a text open. What has it actually done a good job for you? Meaning like, what have you used it for? Not just like, oh, I used it for job descriptions, it sucked, but like, I used it for job descriptions, it's awesome. So what is it? This one right here is super important as like as a group, like meaning your team, super important in just a given department and across here, because if you think about it, if you weren't here yesterday, there's a couple kind of core challenges with AI. Problem challenge number one is it's a mirror. And so where if you buy an applicant tracking system, clearly you know why you bought it. You know what all the features are because they're there in the left-hand menu or across the top. The sales rep sold it to you and said, hey, it posts jobs and it pushes to job boards and it screens applicants. You know what its feature set is. With generative AI, it's like, here's this awesome tool that can do almost anything, which means it can't do anything unless you know it can do that thing. Because that little chat box that's sitting there is basically sitting there going, if your imagination is bad, you're going to get very little value out of this. So for most people, they're using it for a search engine. And it responds, it mirrors back as a search engine. For somebody else, they use it for writing blog content. And so it mirrors back that it's great at writing blog content. For those who don't believe it could write an email, it will never write an email because you never asked it to. Does that make sense, everybody? So that's number one, it's a mirror. Number two, the AI world is chock full of people telling us how this model is better than that model. But if you want great output, it's half you and half it. So if you suck at using it, your ChatGPT is held back and constrained and it's crying every night going, man, I wish I had a power user that used me, right? Like that's the problem set. If you're bad, your results are going to be, eh. If you're awesome, your results are going to overshoot everybody else in the room. That's not what you're going to hear from ChatGPT or Claude or any of those guys, because they're basically going, hey, don't worry. If we get enough use case, we'll be able to make it work without that much input from you. Who's excited about that? If only generative AI was so good that it didn't need very much of my input. Does anybody buy into that and be like, oh man, I can't wait for that day? You know what that means, right? If generative AI will do your job with very little input from you, we don't need you. You hear that? We don't actually need you once we train enough of these to do your job. And the people we will need are the ones who are elegant with their use of it, the ones that have leveled up and are great with it. So look at all, so this is all these things. So if you're in HR right now, and you're going to get this when we're done, I'll make sure that you guys get access. If you can't get it to do any of these things, let me give you your very first prompt. And there's a flow on this. Let me jump over to Gamma. So those of you who didn't see Gamma, I know I showed Joe Tate this right before. So this is how I build slide decks for anything. This is also how I build ebooks. It's also how I build proposals. Everything I build out of here, I choose presentation, or it's how I build a website. Same exact way I build a website with this. But what I want to insert in, and this is kind of, let me copy this so that we get it. This is our first kind of like, don't take the bait. Almost every AI tool out there is going to have a little button that's like this. It's basically like, if you tell me 4 words, I'll build you the most awesome slide deck you've ever seen. If they could build you a slide deck off of 4 words, how good could it possibly be? They know nothing about you. They know nothing about your company, your organization, your current challenges, who you're going to talk to. Like, it doesn't work. So instead, this paste in text, anytime you see a, hey, you can paste in text, instead of thinking, oh, they just said put in 5 or 10 words, think, I wonder how much I could possibly jam into this box. Because you should want to jam in as much information as possible so that it knows about you. Gamma, unlike ChatGPT, is not learning about me. So whatever I put in this box is all it knows about. So for me, I'm going to create our presentation for today, and I'm going to basically, I fed it, and in here I fed it a structure, a heading, a subheading, the title of the slide, the whatever core points are going to go on the slide, a description. And so when I go ahead and hit configure, it's going to feed this over. And the last part is it's going to show me how many slides. So this is going to be a 9-slide slide deck. And right here, I can choose one of my themes. So I pre-set up a theme with my logo and my color scheme. I have like 10 of them in here for my different clients. I'm going to use just this AI for Teams theme, and I'm going to hit generate. And it's going to build our slide deck right now in front of you on the fly. Here we go. You guys ready? Now, this I can and I will present just from here inside of Google Chrome. I could download it as a PDF. I could download it as a PowerPoint. By far, like outside of ChatGPT, this is one of my biggest like time savers. Without ChatGPT, this doesn't save that much time. Right? It would save time. It would create all these images, but I would still have to create all the content because it's not going to be that good. But with ChatGPT and id, I'm able to create. So if you see it's creating these images, those are prompted. So part of my theme is my logo down the bottom and the black color and the border color and the fact that it's using blues to match my logo. That was all themed in, but also the images, there's a little prompt. And I can either upload some stock images for my company. So if your marketing team has a bunch of stock images, jam them in there. Or I can give it a default prompt that's like, we want to use modern techie images that are always blue and gray in color. And that's why the color scheme of all the images it's creating is surprisingly matching my color scheme of my company because I put it in my prompt. So now I could come in here and I could say, hey, I want to change it. I could type to an agent. I want to share this. I could create a link. I could export it. Here you can see I can export as a PDF or a PowerPoint. I don't know why you would export it out of here as a PowerPoint, but you could do that if you like Windows. But if I hit present, I now can go ahead and present just like it's a normal slide. Does that make sense to everyone? So this is our first part when it comes to prompting. So going back to, if I was sitting on this slide and I was going, oh man, somebody says that they use this for disciplinary letters. I've never thought of using it as a disciplinary letter tool. How would I actually go and use it to do that, right? So we come to our very first thing, and this is what I call kind of the structure or what our options are, and this will kind of guide us. We're going to start with just prompting. I'm going to show you a structure that you can use to prompt literally anything. The same structure over and over again. Then we're going to move on to projects. I'm going to show you how I build a project. The reason you move from a prompting, meaning, hey, this is a one-time project, to a prompt, is if it's something I'm going to repeat over and over again, and I want to get it faster and have the same kind of output. Meaning, like, if I'm writing a disciplinary letter, I could prompt it and have it write it. But if disciplinary letters are something I do often, I should create a project so that I'm not having to start over each time. Does that make sense to everyone? A GBT is just a project that can be shared with other people. So generally, I only create a GBT if I want to share it with my team. I want them to use it, and I don't want them screwing around with the instructions. So if I build a GBT, I could share it with somebody on my team, I could share it with somebody out in the world, I could sell it, I could do whatever, and they could use it, but they can't see the instructions or the knowledge base. It's like I'm building a little app inside of ChatGPT. We probably won't get to GBTs. The next one is chatbots. Chatbots are like a GBT that I could hang on a website. In fact, if you guys, part of the bingo thing on the back, there's a couple QR codes, and I'll make sure you get a link. I think there's a link to it right here. This is your organization AI ready. If you go to that, it's going to take you to a chatbot that if you answer a handful of questions about your company, it will guide you on how to interview your executive team about how to prepare and how you guys want to go forward with AI. And it will build you an entire like setup for it. That's a chatbot. I would use that if I was hanging on a website or something like that. And then finally, agents. This is where we get to in the future. There are agents out there. We use agents. You're going to see them start showing up. I know Workday's got some agent stuff. An agent is something that is triggered maybe by you, maybe not, and runs all on its own and finishes a task. So to give you an idea of an agent, I can take all of your guys' information in here because you came to this, and I can take your LinkedIn profile, and I can take all the stuff you've said back on those poll questions, and I can give it to my agent. My agent's going to take and research your website, look you up on LinkedIn, gather a bunch of information, and it's going to write each of you a personalized email about why you should, I don't know, talk to me on the phone. And it's going to do all of that just by me uploading the spreadsheet and walking away and going to bed. All on its own. That's what an agent would be. So if you get, I can't build an agent unless I've nailed the process, unless I've gotten my kind of process of writing an email so nailed that it doesn't require a human. Does that make sense to everybody? This is where we end up in the future, just so most of you realize. We end up managing teams of agents. I have an agent for posting jobs. It writes my job ad, whatever. I have voice agents that can interview a manager and gather the requirements for a job over the phone via voice, and it pulls that back and can write the requisition form. So that's where you get in the future. Most likely it's not coming nearly as fast as everybody wants it to, or at least the AI guys want to. But so let's start with this. This is our framework for prompting. I don't care what you're trying to do. Like literally anything. I'm going to start with these 6 steps. So the first one is I'm going to give it a role. I want you to be my expert at blah, whatever that is. I want you to be my expert at writing disciplinary letters. I want you to be my expert HR assistant. I want you to be my expert mentor for a high school kid. Whatever that expert is, you just want to give it like a hat to put on. You're like, you're going to be my expert at accounting. Doesn't matter what it is. Tell it what kind of expert you wish you had. If you woke up in the morning and you're like, man, sure wish I had somebody to teach me, tell me, give me guidance on whatever. Who would that person be? Did it have a title? Give them that. Number 2 is project. Here's what we're going to work on and be as descriptive as possible. Oh man, I want to work on writing this disciplinary letter to this employee who's struggling with X, Y, or Z. Tell it what the project is. You don't have to get like massive detail, but give it something. So it's like your elevator pitch of what you're going to work on. Number 3, number 3 is what do you need to know? This is probably one of the biggest aha for a lot of people. This seems crazy smart. If you were an expert at writing disciplinary letters, and I told you, today I'm going to write a disciplinary letter to an employee who just stole some stuff from us, what do you need to know to make this letter personalized for the employee, personalized for our organization, to make it sound like us, to talk? What do you need to know, right? This basically says, tell me what I got to answer. Does this make sense to everybody? At this point, you just turn ChatGPT or Gemini or freaking my Grok in my truck into a crazy powerful expert. You told it what project you're working on, and you said, man, you're smarter than me. What do you need to know? What do I need to tell you? The 4th one is you need to give it your answers. And if you type at this point, like just assume you're failing. Like every time that you guys like walk away from this presentation and you start seeing yourself typing in ChatGPT, I want you to remember being like, Ryan would be so disappointed. Like he would talk to it. So if I'm in ChatGPT and so I can run this exact same flow, right? By going to ChatGPT and I've got a brand new prompt right here, I could say, I want you to be my expert at whatever, or I can just hit this voice icon and be like, I want you to be my expert at writing disciplinary letters. The project we're working on is Joe. He stole from us yesterday and we need to write him up. We're not going to fire him quite yet, but we need to write him up so he understands that this was a pretty important thing. What would you need to know about our organization, about the situation, in order to make this as personalized as possible? Right? That was way faster than typing. My guess is 5 years from now, most of you guys will be talking way more than you type. We'll just be talking to our computer. Every office will sound like a call center, right? But so I gave it those first 3 parts. It's now going to come back and be like, okay, cool. Here's what I need to know. I need to know your company name and industry. You want the letter written in formal HR legal tone or in a firm but human company voice? Like, do you already have standard disciplinary action template? You see, it's telling me everything it needs to know in order to make this awesome. If I hadn't have asked it this, it would have guessed the answer to all these questions. It would have guessed from its memory. It would have guessed from every disciplinary letter ever written. It would have just guessed. It's going to use its superhuman brain to guess what you guys meant. And surprisingly enough, even like a super intelligent person can't guess what's in your head, because you guys all have a certain way you want this disciplinary to set out, right? Does that make sense? So at this point, I need to give it these answers. And so I don't have to give it all the answers, just as much as possible. So I might hit this and upload the file of the last disciplinary letter we wrote and say, here's an example from what we've written previously. I might hit the talk button and talk into it. If I was sitting there and the manager was there, I'd literally hit this voice icon and be like, Joe, what did he do wrong? Talk me through this. Oh, he did this and this and this. And why was that a problem? Oh, because blah, 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 blah. And what do you wish he did in the future? And then I just hit send and send that in. And so whatever context we give it here, it's going to immediately jump with. And the more context it has, the more it's going to be like us. The less context it has, the more it's going to guess. And when it guesses wrong, you're like, oh man, ChatGPT is not that good. It got me 50% there, but then I had to massage it. Yeah, that's the point. You have to massage it because you didn't give it good context up front. Just like if you hired a brand new HR assistant and you said, write a disciplinary letter to Joe, and she came back and you're like, that wasn't what I expected. And it's like, yeah, I can't read your mind. ChatGPT can't read your mind. The difference between ChatGPT and an HR assistant, though, is it's not going to be casual or humble about it. It's like, hey, you said do whatever I want. So just assume at the end of every prompt, if you don't give it context, you said, just do whatever you want with this. Shouldn't be that surprising if it comes back not what you wanted, because you said, just do whatever you want. Make sense, everyone? So when you go in here and you say, write a job ad to attract great candidates to our company, because there's been like 3 centuries of shit job ads posted, and it consumed all of those nasty job ads, it's going to write you a job ad that is biased towards what it consumed, which was garbage job ads. I have done my best. If you use ChatGPT right now and say, write a job ad the way Ryan Kohler would, it will literally switch and write job ads the way I would write them. Not even kidding. I put in, my mentor for marketing is Dan Martell. All the time I'm like, write a post for social media, write it like Dan Martell would. Because me and Dan have created a ton of YouTube content, and because it's consumed all of that, it knows who we are. So it'll write a letter. Ryan Kohler from African Pro says my job ads suck. Write this job ad the way he would write it, and it will literally riff a job ad for you. Does that make sense though? It's biased towards the way it's always been done. So if you want to do things differently, you're gonna have to tell it, I don't want to do it the way it's always been done. Do it like this instead. So let me jump back over to, here we are, your answers via transcript. Now these last 2, number 5, how can you help me? So once you feed it all that stuff back in, and just so that we can make this work, I'll be like, why don't you just go ahead and answer this as if you're the HR manager at applicantpro.com and fill out all these questions, just make it up so we can use it as an example. So another trick, if you don't want to answer the questions, tell it to play like you. So I just switched its hat from like disciplinary action radar to imagine you're the HR person at Applicant Pro, right? And so it's now going to fill this in with its just so I can do a demo, right? So it's answering all these questions. Oh, Joe, the customer support specialist, been here for 1 year and 4 months. He has 1 previous verbal warning for being late multiple times. Yep. So it's going to draft a default letter. Again, I haven't given it an example. I didn't give it a template. I didn't tell it what our company voice was, but I could have. I could say, no. Here's 3 examples of previous letters. I want you to follow the same flow. So there's a couple of keywords here. Follow the same flow or framework tells it like make the content flow that way. Use the same voice. If you give it an existing document, it's going to mimic that voice. And you could expand that and say voice and tone of voice and lingo and keywords and phrases. But so we've got one right here, but I can now put in, my prompt was, how can you help? How else can you help me? Ask it. What else can you do? When you get done with the end of whatever you're trying to do on anything, you could always just say, how can you help? Oh, here's some ways I can help. I could write multiple error variations. I could create talking points for the conversation. I could create policy and documentation check. I could protect the company. I could create an employee improvement path. I can do all kinds of stuff. This is its training of what the next logical step is for somebody to take after writing a disciplinary letter. You could also have just said that. What are the top 5 logical steps somebody would take after this? And our last prompt on here was take the lead. So I want to do number 5. Why don't you take the lead in collaborating with me to do it? I want to put it in the driver's seat. I'm going to ride shotgun, right? That just says it's going to pull me through the process instead of me having to pull it through the process. So it says, great. Step 1, core structure for any disciplinary letter. Every letter should have these building blocks. Step 2, template variations by infraction. Step 3, plug and play fields. So it's pulling me through the disciplinary letter process like it's the expert. Does that make sense to everybody? Does everybody see this is, I will follow this like 20 times a day. Literally. If I run by a booth and somebody's like, oh man, you know what book you should read? It's X, Y, and Z. It's super great for helping your business. I'll jump into chat. I will go download the PDF of the book. I'll jump into ChatGPT and I'll be like, I want you to be my expert business consultant. I want you to review this entire book. I want you to pull out of it things that I should be implementing in my business. What do you need to know about me and my business in order to help with that? I attach the PDF, I hit go. It's going to read the entire book for me. It's going to come back with a list of questions, or if it already knows about me, I'm going to drop it into this little fancy, those of you who weren't here the other day, yesterday, this little internal file is like Ryan's secret trove. You can buy this after I'm dead. I'm sure that my wife will just like hawk it all over the place. It has like 20 hours of therapy sessions, my entire backstory of building my company, like all kinds of weird shit about me, like an hour-long interview with my mom before she passed away. It knows everything. I would take a book if somebody's like, oh, there's this really cool professional development book. Or if I'm at a conference and somebody brings up you should ask yourself this question. I just literally jump in here. I'm like, answer this question in a way I wouldn't want people to know. Like, say what I'm afraid to say. Say what I'm afraid to tell this group of HR people. I can actually have it write you a letter from my mom on this, which is super interesting when it comes to context. Because if you know my mom passed away and I tell you that the letter is from my mom, your brain, your subconscious triggers when you go to read it. And it's like, oh, he got a letter from his mom and it's telling him why he loves HR people. Yeah. And so it'll go deep into Ryan about why I build companies full of working moms and why I'm like, show up for you HR ladies. And yes, some of you dudes too, but mostly you HR ladies because of my mom, right? It'll literally fire that up at will because I've given it so much of me that I don't have to tell it. And so I will drop books into that same exact flow. We'll go back to the disciplinary letter. My mom could write a good disciplinary letter for me though. She crushes that. Does this make sense as far as how to walk through that flow? Anything that you come up with, you could run this same exact structure. I want you to be my expert at fill in the blank. The project we're working on is this. Here's some context. What do you need to know about me? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm a little confused about how you can help and you take the lead.
So
you take what exactly?
that means that it's going to drive the conversation. So if what it comes back with is, we just wrote this disciplinary letter, and it's like, what would I do next? Well, I would, going back to our little prompt here, and I say, you'll come up with talking points for the conversation. Can you take the lead in guiding me through coming up with talking points to drive the conversation with Joe, right? I'm basically saying, like, you drive this process by asking me questions instead of me prompting you. So, the dirty secret is, like, up to this point in your life, ChatGPT has responded to your prompt. If you don't prompt it, it doesn't do it. If you don't know what to prompt it with, it doesn't respond by helping you. By doing it this way of saying, what do you need to know? And you take, what can you do? And you take the lead. I'm basically saying, like, use your crazy, powerful brain to take me through this. Because then I'm not like, here's some talking point framework. And what it should do is this at the end. Here's some next steps. Here's what we can do next. It starts to link together what to do next. In a normal prompt, if you gave it a prompt and said, write a disciplinary letter when it got done, it's like, done. It's not going to say, hey, I'm done, but here's 3 things we could do next. Do you want to do one of them? And so I'm trying to teach everybody to make it so that it's going to guide them to the next step. So it continues the conversation instead of ending and waiting and going, I sure hope you're imaginative about what we could do next. Does that kind of make sense?
So how can you help? So when you say take the lead, it's not necessarily going to be tied to how you help, or is that?
How you can help gives me some ideas of what we could do.
Okay.
You take the lead comes with do 5. You take the lead with it. You drive the collaboration. You can phrase it however you want. Probably you drive the collaboration, maybe better. And if I was really building that in a prompt, in a project, I would say you drive the collaboration by always providing me with the next 3 logical steps, and also coming up with 3 total random places we could pivot to. And if that's what I wanted to do, it's going to create, this may not matter for you when you're building just a prompt. But when we come back over here and say, okay, now we're going to move away from this one prompt, right? I got a good output. And now I stop and go, whew, that was awesome, but it's going to take a lot of work if I want to do it every time the same way. You mean I got to start over every time? Does everybody get that? Like, hey, I just wrote this disciplinary letter. That was awesome. But now am I going to have to start over every time an employee makes me mad? I could do it, but that doesn't seem very efficient. So I want to now create a shortcut that gets me back into that again. Hey, now that I know how to create a disciplinary letter with these prompts, why don't we make it so it's really, really fast and consistent? That would be the reason to create a project. And I might create a project called disciplinary letters. And inside of that project, now I want to give it some stuff so that it can shortcut to the end without asking me all these questions, right? I'm just building a little tool to repeat what I just did. So the very first thing, if you want to build for consistency, if we structure it right, after we've got it right the first time, my very first goal, and this goes for pretty much anything I do, I'm going to run that prompt flow over and over again. The first time through the gauntlet, I'm going to run that flow. I'm going to make sure that the output is awesome. Then I'm going to go back and I'm going to ask myself, do we do a lot of this? Or was it a huge pain in the butt when I did it? Those are my 2 questions. My third one might be, do I want to hand this off to somebody else to do? Whether that's your HR admin, whether it's part of your team, whether it's a virtual assistant in the Philippines, it doesn't matter. Do I want to hand this off and yet have them still get the same great output? Follow the same process. And so if that's what my goal is, the first step is I need to actually think about what context should I give it. So in that first prompt, it didn't know anything about us to start, and we were feeding it as it went. Well, now I want to say, wait a second, I could probably give it some context up front. So I could create a file that says, here's an about us, and here's my org chart, and here's like, whatever the case may be. I could give it some knowledge, just like if I was teaching an employee about our company, I would give it some context. My employee handbook is context, right? Whatever it is that it should know when it fires open this entire chat. I want to come up with, and as much as possible, like you could just give it straight up transcripts, but I might want to structure that a little bit, meaning headings, and computers read just like we read, minus the bold and the italics. And so we might want to structure the context a little bit, just say, hey, here's the names of all of our team, and here's their job titles. Now, if you have an org chart with names and job titles, how much context is that? Not a lot, right? I mean, a sales rep for you might be different than a sales rep for me. And so if you think about an org chart that I'm going to give to ChatGPT, I'm going to give it more information, not less. So I might want to give it their name, their job title, their email address in case I want to write an email. I might want to give it like what the job is. I might want to give it what tools they use. Oh, my marketing person uses Go High Level and they use like whatever, so that if it ever tells them to do something, it doesn't say go use your CRM. It says go use Go High Level, go use HubSpot, right? But so I might want to build an org chart. That would be a good, let's take the easy one. If you all sit in on an executive team, I would want to create a little document called My Executive Team. And inside of that document, I'm going to put their names. I'm going to put their job title. I'm going to put kind of like the core role they play. I might put what their objectives are for this quarter, what they're working on, like whatever I want, just whatever I would need to tell my assistant in order for them to know what's going on in that team meeting. Because when I take and give it a transcript of my leadership team, it doesn't know who Joe is. But if it can reference go, oh, Joe Tate, he is this person. He's awesome. He loves skiing. Then when it reads all this stuff, it's like, oh, no wonder he's talking about skiing because Joe loves skiing. And I might reference that when I write him a follow-up email. I might use that as an example. I might do all, and so that context, does that kind of make sense to everybody? This is where we start getting, so for me, I would go create a Google Drive doc. And so I have a folder of like knowledge bases, and I might break that down into leadership knowledge bases. And inside of there, I have my leadership org chart. And then inside of this, I'm going to go, and it is clunky, I'm going to go and upload that file in here, right? So literally I'm going to take, and I have this like, here's a AI readiness template. I'm just going to load it. The downside of that is you're going to have to load it into every project where it matters, number one. And number two, if you make an update to it, you're going to have to go and reload it. So that's option one. If you're using, say, Copilot, supposedly, or if not now in the future, you could attach something from your OneDrive, or if you're using Gemini, you can attach from Google Drive. I believe right now, most of them, though, are still scraping it that one time and it's not updating. I think we use TeamGPT for a lot of stuff, which lets us use all the different pieces. And it's set up to auto rescrape. I might hang my knowledge bases, like put them on a website. That clearly don't do that. If it's personal internal information, you better make sure that website is locked down. But I have the ability to lock down URLs. And so I might load up like if I was writing job ads for a company, that I'm going to create for you the voice of your company, your employer value proposition document, like all of your job ads and their templates for job ads. I'm going to hang those out there so that I can go snag them when I want to write a job ad for you. And so, yeah, it is like as a team, then you also, it's not just like you have a mess. Now you got a team that all has a mess too. So at the very least, I would start with like, hey, we have OneDrive or Google Drive. We're sharing our knowledge base files. We have a consistent way we name them. We have a consistent folder structure. Let's put all this junk in there so that we can actually share it. And so that when I update the leadership team org chart or the company org chart or the sales team org chart, that everybody has the same one. But right now you have to reload it. And it's a pain in the butt. Then again, like work's a pain in the butt. So, I mean, choose your hard. Currently, your hard you're choosing is dealing with knowledge-based docs. I'd prefer that over creating slide decks, writing emails, and everything else I'm currently saving on. So I'll just choose that hard. But yeah, also one of the big problems with it that would like why I like TeamGPT over this is this leadership team folder and these is only mine. I can't share this project folder, which means if my other team members are going to do similar, they're going to have to load up their documents to do those things too. Inside TeamGPT, I can create a project folder and share it. Claude, you can share project folders. And so there's like, long-term, we end up getting to where all this stuff actually works right. But right now, we're still in Wild West mode. But yeah, so that's great. So if I jump over here to projects, so we have context, right? So there's 3 parts to us building a project. Number 1 was structured context. That's the like, what do you need to know before you start? Number 2 is output. meaning can I give you a template for how we write a disciplinary letter? And voice, can I give you a way to know how we write things? So for me, the easiest way to get voice for me is literally, I'm going to take the transcript from me talking today. I'm going to throw it into ChatGPT and I'm going to say, create for me a comprehensive voice document that will make AI write just like I talk. So if I can get somebody talking enough, I can use that to create a voice file that is how to talk, how to write like I talk. Because for me, and if you've gotten any text messages from me, which I bet a bunch of you are playing bingo, and if you've ever gotten emails from me, it sounds like I'm talking to you. It's because I train my AI off of me talking so that when it writes, it sounds like me. Because if I sat down and wrote, I don't sound the same. I sound much more like structured and all that kind of garbage, right? And I want you to actually have it sound like me. Do you have a question?
Because like.
Yeah, I know it, the typos, right? I know. I would imagine you no, yes and no. You could go in on this slide in Gamma and say change out the image or fix the image. It doesn't know how to read that that's typoed in the image builder. So yeah, I mean, you could go in and swap out the image if you cared. I don't. But yeah, you could. It is like, again, like one of the changes, one of our switches is a good example. Like Gamma has some shortcomings. Everything has shortcomings. Do we all get that? Like every blessing's a curse. So we have over here, oh my gosh, if I built it in PowerPoint, it would be perfect. It has a curse. Oh my gosh, it took a lot of work. So I'm currently optimizing for speed over perfection on, say, image generation. I could get much better with text because like text is easier to control than images. But yeah, right now I might be able to try don't put any text on the images. And that's probably what I'd opt for if I was worried about it and it was coming back wrong too often. I'd put that in Gamma right in my thing. Like don't put text on any of my images. And it should, I haven't tried it, but it should clear that out. Yeah, 100%. I could just deep fake this whole thing and like I can fire up a voice bot and he can present this to you. Yeah, you can. The challenge you have with the deep fake is getting it to look right now is harder than just hitting record. Like it actually takes longer sometimes. But yeah, 100%. I could use Synthesia or HeyGen and throw like a little bubble on here and take this deck and turn it into an actual video without me even being there at all. Like I posted stuff on Instagram. I can also make a baby version of myself and baby Ryan can do this stuff. I can fire that up if you want to see it too. Back in the very back, yeah. Yeah, pretty much on anything you're looking, you're going into either the security or the data controls, and you're looking for this like improve the model for everyone or some variation of that, and you're turning it off. Now, what you guys should be using, if we're being completely honest, is a team account. And when you have a team account in ChatGPT, it's literally, I think, like $5 more per month per user. But that by default does not train their model. It also gives you more user controls. It lets you share GBTs with your team. It doesn't let you share projects because I don't know why. But the team account on Claude does. I think that the team account on Perplexity lets you share projects, but I don't think it's team. But yeah, you're looking for something along that in order to clear it out, to make sure that it's not. And again, like, so that everybody knows, like there have been interesting security breaches with ChatGPT, and I don't know why they didn't figure this out. And the same goes for Grok. Like when you share a thread, that's where the problem was. It wasn't that like somebody had this turned off and gave it personal information. It showed up. Even if I went in here and went, my social security number is blah, 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 blah. I highly doubt that it's not going to email everybody and be like, oh my gosh, Ryan was just stupid and put in his social security number. Everybody go use it. Right? It's not like that. It's that over time, it may, if you were working on, say, like a super important project and you didn't want the world to know about it, it might go and figure that out. The bigger issue is when I'm in a thread like this, and they should have locked it down, that when I click share and I create a share link for this thread right here, and I'm putting it out in the public, somebody forgot to tell the bots not to index it, and the search engines do what search engines do. When you read your email in Gmail and click on a link, Google's also watching that, and they're like, oh, we should index this, so it's in our search engine. That's what they were doing. You know, it is what it is. It's stupid. But all right, so does this make sense as far as on the context? The last part in here, let me jump back. So we had structured output. So I do a ton of structured output. I'm going to call them templates. And a template looks like the title of the template, a description of it, each of the headings, and under each heading, an explanation of what goes in it. So if this was like a disciplinary letter, it might be, here's my disciplinary letter template, and like, here's the way we want our intro to be, and we want these 5 sections. And if you want a heading, say, put these headings in. Like for me, when I'm writing marketing content, I'll be like, I want you to break up the text with headings. I want each heading to be an introspective question or a bold statement. That's going to force it into creating those headings to be a certain way. And then each paragraph under it, I'm going to be like, put in a prompt. That's a template. And whether that's a job ad template, a job description template, you can give it an example. I don't. If I'm going to give it an example, I'm going to give ChatGPT an example and say, turn this into a template. Because I don't want it to get like confused. It's like the template is also the job description for customer service. And I go to create a programming job and it's kind of like bringing some of that in. I don't want to use an example. I want to use a template for my output. Does that make sense to everybody? And if you want to sound like you guys, the bigger this voice document is, the better. Meaning like my voice documents are like 5 pages long. And I have probably 10 of them. I have one for every subject I might talk about. I have how to talk like Ryan about ChatGPT to business owners, and how to talk like Ryan about ChatGPT to real estate agents, and how to talk like Ryan, because like the nuance of it matters, right? The kind of words I use around you guys are very different than the words I'd use around real estate agents. And so the more I want to sound like me, the better. This last part is this collaboration loop. So when we move away from here's a project folder that I'm prompting to I want you to actually drive the process, I need to actually tell it what that looks like. So I'm going to show you an example of this in here that I've got. So right here, I've got this prompt. Let's see if I can hide a few of this stuff and make it a little bit bigger, and we'll kind of talk through it. Here I have a prompt for building a slide deck. And so it follows, and this is what I'd put in a project folder instructions. It's the same thing I use for a GBT. Honestly, it's the same thing I use to create a chat bot, a voice bot, you name it. So I want you to be the expert at blah, 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 right? The backstory, here's what we're going to do. The slide deck creator agent was designed to solve time-consuming challenge, building structured, whatever, knowledge base. Here, and so if you guys borrow this, you're welcome to. I gave you guys a QR code to it. You want to swap in your company information here, right? Here's my company name. Here's our URL. You can probably delete out this tag thing. I use that for something else. Then it's like knowledge base files. Here are the knowledge base files that I'm going to use. If you go ahead and load them up, you would put in file name and you type out the file name that you're going to attach to it. You're basically saying, hey, when you fire up, so when I am in a project and I start a new chat, let's create a slide deck. It's going to send all of these instructions up along with all of those files. So I'm basically preloading this chat by saying, you're going to be my expert at this, at building slide decks. Here's my company information. Read these 5 things, my about us, my org chart, my goals, my projects, our company voice. Read these first. Then I start with this collaborative process, and I'm literally like walking it through like me and AI, my friend, are going to build this thing. Step, and I refer to me as I, and I refer to it as you. Could you do it a different way? 100% knock yourself out. But I built 1,000 of these, and it works pretty good this way. And so I'm like, I will provide the topic of the presentation. And if you have knowledge base access, you'll analyze all the knowledge base. And if not, you'll ask me for my company name and website. That way, if you load this up and don't give it knowledge, it's going to come back and be like, hey, I don't know you. Tell me a little bit more about you. You're going to suggest 5 ideas of what I could cover. So all I did was I said, hey, I want to do a lunch and learn. And it comes back, it reads our company, reads our knowledge base, and comes back. It's like, here's 5 ideas for a knowledge base or a lunch and learn you could do. And I might be like, no, I don't want to do any of those. What I want to talk about is blah, 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 blah. Cool. Just overwrite it, right? Then it's going to say, I'll provide additional input or upload a transcript. You'll analyze it and present 5 compelling flows like storylines or structures. You'll ask me to pick one or to suggest a different one, right? Once the flow is chosen, you're going to ask me, how many slides do you want in the deck? And I'm going to say 400. I'll provide a number. You'll then map out the core titles and concepts, ask for any feedback, and I'll give you feedback. So do you see how I'm scripting this out so it's pulling me through? If you do this, you could give this to your assistant and it would go out pretty fast. You could also just do it yourself because this chat conversation to build a slide deck is going to take like 5 minutes, right? Ask for my feedback. Once it's approved, you'll create a detailed outline for each slide, and it will include slide number, title, heading, subheading, bullet points. So going back to what was suggested, hey, you can tell it to only use 2 columns. Great. If I want to say in here, like image description, don't put words over the tops of any images, right? I could just throw it in there. Each slide separated with dash, dash, dash. The reason we do that is what Gamma likes. So I'm separating those because Gamma will like it. You'll show me the draft and ask for any edits. If the edits are given, you adjust. You should suggest using Gamma to build these slides. Right? Because I built this for you guys, I want to throw the reminder in there. And so think about if you're having an employee do this for you and you're like, oh, I'm tired of them like going, wait a second, how do we build slides again? Like, oh, I'm just going to embed it in there. When you get done building it, be like, use Gamma. Also use Otter. Like, hey, by the way, like, shoot Ryan a text and tell him how awesome this is. I could literally embed that in the conversation thread. I could have also, I've done this before where I'm like, your name is Ryan and you're going to use this voice document and you're super sarcastic. When HR people are using this, you're going to give them a hard time about it. Right? Like I would do that because it's unnecessary. So here we get, okay, cool. I built the slides. Now this is where I'm going to end it because I don't want the conversation to end. And so I'm like, you'll always propose the next steps. If I choose one, you'll continue collaborating. Throughout the process, always match my company voice. That was in the knowledge base. Pause for approval at decision points. Keep the tone professional, engaging, clear. So I could say, keep the tone sarcastic and aggressive. Yeah, I could say whatever I want in there. That's giving the tone to the chatbot, not to me. Then I have, here's some output creation prompts. And so these are prompts that kind of guide how it builds the deck output. And then next steps. After completing slide outline, always offer some stuff that it can do next. Here's some writing guidelines, final check, right? So I could literally take this entire thing, or you could take it. I can take this entire prompt right here. And I can go into ChatGPT and I can create a project called slide decks. And again, this will work on anything. Right up here, it says add instructions, and I'm going to put these instructions in. Right? And so now it doesn't, let me go and edit it really quick. Edit. I don't have any knowledge base I'm attaching, but for this, I'm going to say it is for Refer.io, and our URL is. That just means it's going to know what company I'm supposedly with. But I could go back in and add all these other knowledge bases. If I don't, it's just going to bypass them and probably ask me more questions, right? And so I've created the instructions. I could come back in and add my files, but at this point I could say, I want to build a slide deck training an executive team on the importance of AI, and somebody's got to take the freaking lead on this. That's why I'd like a slide deck about, right? You can talk as long as you want to it, right? It's going to, along with this sentence, it just fed up that page-long instructions. And so anytime, got it, you want to build a training deck, wake them up about the urgency of AI adoption, push them to appoint someone or group to take ownership or lead. Let's go step by step, clarify the goal. Here's the audience, suggest big ideas for coverage, right? Here's 5 angles you could hit. So it's walking me through, right? Possible flows and storylines, and it should stop and be like, what do you want to use? Right? So this just bypassed a whole bunch of prompting. And if I want to repeat this over and over again, if you don't like the way it's doing this, like for instance, I don't love that it came up with all 3 steps at once. I might go back in my instructions, be like, slow down. Like, so if I come into my folder here, where do we go? Slide decks. So there's 2 hacks on this, and I'll actually show you the better hack. Right now, I could say, and I could do this at any point in time, we'll call this like a check yourself prompt. I could say, hey, I don't like the fact that you gave me all 3 steps all in one shot. How do I need to change your instructions so that in the future you slow down and go step by step? So like at any point in time, and you build some instructions, you can turn it back on itself and be like, what do I got to change so you quit doing it this way? Because one of the biggest takeaways I want you to take here is like, most people in this room are users of technology that somebody like me designed. Sound about right? You are users of technology and you gripe and moan about how bad the technology is, but you didn't build it. I did. So you're stuck with it. ChatGPT is one of the first times that you can be the builder of the technology you use. But that comes with it that you got to figure out how to build. And that means that if this doesn't respond the way you want it, it's your fault, right? You built it that way. But luckily you can ask it and it's now going to come back and be like, I would change your instructions to do X, Y, and Z. You need to change this to have this instruction set in there. You need to go back and tell it to slow down. You need to go in and add a different knowledge base. So this makes sense to everybody? How are we feeling? Like worth your time? Yeah. This, if you master this setup, like if you master projects, you are like top 1% in AI. I'm not even kidding. I know that's a low bar, but most people are still building prompts, right? This same setup here, this instruction set, these files and this instruction set is how I build a voice bot that I can give a phone number to. It's how I build a chat bot to go on a website. I give it this knowledge base. I give it output structure. I give it a set of instructions. A user is going to start chatting with you about a job. You will reply back by asking them for their resume. They will give the resume. You will consume the resume, compare it against the job description, and now come back and answer these 5 questions for them. It's the same exact thing we just designed. The main difference, so it should come back and say, here you go. Totally fair. Totally fair. If you want me to slow down, go step by step, drop this into your custom instructions, or just tell me slow mode on, right? And so it's telling me what I can go back and change to make it better. We have never on this planet had a tool that we could build on our own that we could also turn back on itself and say, how can you fix this? Do it better next time. It's crazy powerful, right? Or you can wait for OpenAI to build all this stuff and then complain that they built it wrong. Those are the 2 options, right? Does that make sense, everyone? So this is how we create a project. I have a couple projects in here that you can borrow. I've got a slide decks project that you can snag and steal. I've got the other prompt I'll show you. I have a meeting follow-up. If you do a meeting, you get a transcript, drop it in there. This will literally, if we look at, again, you'll need to put in some knowledge-based documents. You'll need to update your company info here, but step by step, I'll tell you what the meeting I just attended was. Don't worry, ChatGPT doesn't care about my Hebrew English. It's good with it. You ask for the date of the meeting and who attended, ask me to upload a transcript of the meeting. You analyze the transcript, cross-reference relevant knowledge-based documents. You'll return the 5 most likely follow-up types, such as meeting summary, email to attendees, to-do list and action item, reports and internal updates, client-facing follow-up and proposal draft. Anybody in here want this? Right? Super fire, right? Like I might build 5 different variations. This is my variation I use when I do a sales call. Here's the sales transcript. Here's Joe Tate's LinkedIn profile. Here's like the company he works for. Tell me what to do next. It's like, we could write him an email. We could go ahead and like create a proposal for him. Mine, I'll kick into marketing mode. And it's like, we can write a LinkedIn post that'll attract people just like Joe. And we can build an ebook for them to download. But this one right here is probably like one of my most used flows. So you can just come and snag this. So anybody in here want to guess what we would do if we wanted to do performance reviews? So it kind of makes sense how we would think this through, right? We would sit down and be like, okay, let's walk the process. So like if I wanted to build one, because it was asked, now I happen to have a little cheat for this. So I have a little bot that builds these things. And so I would say performance reviews. So it's going to now interview me on how to build a bot to guide performance reviews. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fire away.
You said use voice for everything. Does the voice prompt come up on all of these?
Most of these platforms have a voice prompt of some type. Even the one, so I built you guys this one that you can go play with. I'll show it to you really quick. I built 3 tools. Like I built 3 tools while I was here. This one I built this morning walking over here. This is not to flex my awesomeness, but you know, kind of a big deal. Yeah. So this one, if you want to sit down with your team, your leadership team, and say, hey guys, nobody's in charge of AI and it's kind of a free-for-all. We should talk this through. This one I built, it's sitting out public. You can go and use it. And it literally is like, hey, you say, let's go. And it has voice too. So you can see anywhere you see that voice icon means you're going to be able to talk to it. If you can't, if I pull open voice memo on my phone. So if I pull open voice memo on my iPhone and I'm like, hey, I want you to map something out for me. So if I talk to it at all, whether it was a group of people, right here, these 3 dots on the side of your voice memo says copy transcript. And if you're lucky enough to work for a company that likes Apple and not PC, I can paste directly from my phone into here. And if you haven't seen that one, if you have a Mac and an iPhone, you're welcome. When you copy on a phone, you can paste to it, vice versa. When you copy on a computer, you can paste to your iPhone. But so this one right here basically says, and I'll show you as a great example. So I'm using this as marketing. This is a great marketing tool, right? Hey, you guys are all going to go home and be like, holy crap, we are behind on AI. We got to talk to the leadership team about it. But I don't know what to say. Sound about right? I don't know how to say, I don't know how to start it. So you come in here and hit this and you say, let's go. And it's like, hey, we're going to do this AI readiness journey. Tell me your company name. I ran this for Neaters. Hopefully you guys like Neaters. It's like, was Joe and the head of Neaters lived in my neighborhood. So they're pretty much my example for everything. And so this went through and researched Neaters just on the fly. So if you put in your name and your company name and website, it's going to go research your company, bring back in here and say, oh, we know about you. And you could give it feedback if you want. It's going to ask you for your role. Hey, I'm the head of HR and people ops. And now it's going to come back and say, great. Here is, it's going to ask 2 more questions. Where are you at right now? Where are you at with AI? What's AI? Free for all, curious but cautious. Scaling adoption. Hey, we're fully integrated. Tell it where your organization is right now. And then number 2, and you could also just hit voice and talk to it. And the next one is like, who's in charge of it right now? Or who's most likely to be in charge? So I said number 8, nobody. So for Neaters, I know nothing about where Neaters is at AI, on AI, but I said they're somewhere between a free-for-all and curious but cautious, and that right now no one is in charge or it's unclear. And so it came back and said, cool, here's who you should have in this discussion based off of how big Neaters is and how many employees they have and how many locations they have. It's going to guess. And here's the questions we want to ask. So this is an entire state of questions that you could just sit down, get out Otter, drop it on the table, press start recording, and ask them these questions. Where are we at? What are we thinking? What could the future look like? What are we hoping to accomplish? Do we think our employees are going to struggle with this? Do we think they're going to get pushed? Whatever you want. The next steps here are you can upload that transcript into here, or this one that I had to build it as a second thing once I got here. Show me examples of bottom, average, and top performing companies like us. So it's literally going to give you examples. Hey, if you're a slow AI adopter, here's what these people are probably thinking in their heads. If they're a CEO of a restaurant group, this is what they're probably thinking in their heads. If they're average, this is what they're thinking. If they're fast, once you get done and you drop your transcript, I just forced it and said, imagine that it's whatever. It's going to come back with this one. What do you want to do? You want an executive summary? You want a SWOT analysis? You want a current versus future state gap report? Do you want an industry benchmark report? Do you want an implementation roadmap? Do you want a culture and rituals report? This is going to run those reports based off of you giving it your company, a transcript of your leadership team talking about it, and it's going to map it out. And it'll just keep going, like as long as you want, right? You could come back and be like, hey, I gave this report. Here's what my leadership team said. Go rebuild it. Go adjust it. Building this was the same exact process we just went through in building a project. Same thing. I just happened to use a different tool called Pickaxe, right? But it's the same exact thing. I'm going to stop right here. Questions? We like it. So it depends. So that's a beautiful answer. It depends. It depends on the tool you're using and its ability to go run a web search. So like if I use Pickaxe, Pickaxe lets me put a link in. I can show you as a good example. It's been a little while, but like if you guys aren't as an organization on ChatGPT or on Claude, I personally would look at TeamGPT, just my 2 cents. It's nailed their security. There's no questions to ask. It's basically the same price as ChatGPT, but here's the biggest difference is inside of these folders, I can build a folder and I can share it with my team. So that's kind of number 1. So I built the folder once. I loaded the knowledge base once, and in their knowledge base, it's been a little while since I played with this, but in their knowledge base, I should have the ability to add in a URL. So I can just plug in here and say, hey, I just want to add a new web page, and it's called, right? And so it's going to add it in there. I don't know if they built it yet, but they were supposed to make it so it'll do an initial scrape, but they're supposed to be building it so it'll auto rescrape. So if you have it public, or if you have a way to put public files out there that you lock down. But so yeah, something like this. The upside of this also is inside of here, along with sharing the folder, I also can come in here and hit my prompt library. And so I can build a bunch of prompt libraries in there to share with the team. Clearly on my side, I don't give my team a lot of prompt library stuff because I just build really good project instructions. Because my goal is that you don't need to prompt. And that's the other thing to think about when you start building, say, a GPT, or like this one is a good example on Pickaxe. I had to design this based off the idea that you guys knew nothing about how it was built and we're going to use it once. That's a really high bar for me designing an experience, right? If I'm designing an experience for myself, I know how it was built. I can like nudge it along. If I'm designing an experience for an employee who uses it all the time, I can train them and I hope they get better at it. When I'm designing for a one-time use, no training, like the bar is really high for what that experience looks like. I tend to design for that period because I just am a freak about this stuff. And I want to make sure that it gets a common output and it gets to the right result each time. And so I spend more time crafting it to make sure that it's always, like you can see as we're going through this, it's constantly going to nudge you to do the next thing. Hey, put in your company name. Okay, great. This is awesome. Hey, can you confirm it? Yeah, it looks good. Great. What's your title? So it's constantly asking you the next question so that you don't get stuck. Because I don't want you to get stuck. But one of your, both with say Pickaxe and Team GPT is the other one. I can actually see my team using, I don't know if I have one that's in here. If it's in a public folder, meaning like shared with the team, here we go. I can actually see other people using it and I can go jump in on their thread and see how it's used. And I can even collaborate on a thread. So if I have a customer support team that's using this stuff, I actually want to see how they're using it. I want to go adjust my prompts. I want to go adjust my folder setup. And so I can actually see it. Or like for me, my sales team will use a thread for, hey, we upload that we're pitching to Neaters and we upload our transcript and we did our follow-up. Now they become a client. My success team will jump right on the end of that thread and be like, what did Ryan promise these people? Like the best thing ever. Like customer success going, what the freak did the salesperson promise these people? What are their expectations? What were their core pains? And so they can just continue that thread. But if you think about something as simple as that, how many people in here have sales and support teams? How many support teams hate the salespeople for overselling and not explaining what they said? Like getting the sales transcript, dropping in and saying, what did this person promise these people? Build me a map of what we got to check off to make them happy. You could do the same for like, you made an offer to an employee as a manager and you did the interview and recorded it. And the onboarding team's like, what did they promise this person? Like what was said when we weren't there, right? All right, any more questions? What time? I'm supposed to be done in 5 minutes. Clearly, I'll talk all day. So anybody, so you have kind of like stages of information being left on it. So if you think about it, when I send a chat to the language model, level 1, free account, it's going there. It's getting an answer, it's coming back, but over there it's leaving question and answer to train their model so it'll be better in the future. So nice of you guys. Nothing's free. Everybody who's on free ChatGPT, let's just think this all at once. Nothing is free. You are paying by training their model. That's your payment. Level 2 is you go turn off the history, but then you got to remember to turn it off on a Plus account. In a Team GPT account, like in a Teams account on ChatGPT, by default, it doesn't do it. I don't even know that you can make it train the model. So if you're in ChatGPT and you have this little Teams down here, you can see all my little teams over here. When I upgrade to a team account, it by default doesn't leave the information there. Anybody running through their API, which if you think about, say, like the Pickaxe that I built here or Team GPT, by default using the API does not train the model, right? But you have the same security issues you have with QuickBooks and everybody else. Like TeamGPT is now hosting my information, just like Pickaxe is hosting my information. And so you got to decide where you're at. The easiest thing, kind of like a resume, don't copy in the top of it, copy in the rest. Don't copy in the person's name and information when you're going to do an analysis. Just leave that off. So if you have like financial statements, don't put the company name, give it an ID. Like that's how in actual database structures, that's why we store IDs, not names and information. We attach all your information to an ID number. And then somewhere over here, we have ID 5 equals. And so that is one way to kind of lower. Does it solve all the risk? 100% it doesn't. But it's the beginnings of saying, hey, we assign IDs. Like I have a school that uses, and so every student has an ID. So they're going to attach the student's homework to the ID instead to the kid's name. Again, like, I don't know that if it leaks out that Joey wrote a paper about XYZ, his teddy bear, that it's like, oh my gosh, his personal information has been disclosed to humanity. Like, I don't know that that matters at that level, but that's the way to start thinking through it is, can we push information in without an identifier? We have a unique identifier, but not the company name and their website. And so it could be some things like you look at where that information is stored, where you're going to get it from to feed it. And you say, build this report that doesn't have their name, has the ID. And then you're going to end up with a spreadsheet somewhere with those IDs and the company names on it. And it's going to look like the password paper you have underneath your keyboard. It's like, nobody knows my password. It's just stored under my computer. But yeah, that's kind of your first step as you start checking away from that. The second one is like, start with the low-hanging fruit. Low-hanging fruit is normally the least risky from a personal or private information standpoint, and the least nasty from a, we're just giving AI a lowly assistant the ability to send a mass email to 100,000 people. I also wouldn't have given them my constant contact account, let alone ChatGPT. I would have made them check their stuff down, right? And so you start with that. Like every organization should start with low-hanging fruit, low risk, low nasty. It gets us like in the rhythm of building. It gets us in the rhythm of thinking about it. We start to learn. It's like, you don't like, yeah, when you were a kid, you didn't find the hardest bike that was an adult bike and be like, here, son, go ride this. We like took small steps. We aim small, miss small. We like build repetition and build our skill over time. And so a lot of people though are jumping right to the highest risk, highest nastiness thing and being like, it's all or nothing. Either this works for the hardest possible task or we're not using it at all. It's terrible. I guess it's just not logical. And so that's kind of the piece on it. Yeah, so agent is like in the early days of any industry or any technology, we're really fuzzy on what all these keywords mean. And like, I don't know why they called it GBTs. This has got to be like the worst name ever. We're ChatGPT, you build GBTs. What do GBTs stand for? A really big acronym that nobody understands. Like, I don't know why they called it that. Agents would have made more sense, or chatbots or something like that. And so you want to ask, okay, what does it do? So if we actually define those terms so that you can talk about it, it's like a project folder allows me to feed files, not context, and a set of instructions before I start, but it's just mine. A GBT has, or a chatbot has the ability for somebody else to use it, and it hides the instructions and files, meaning they can't get into the instructions and change it or adjust it. So if I was going to point something at the public, I'd probably use that. Like normally, if I was like protective of my IP, I wouldn't go build you one of these and give you the thing. I would build a little GBT to chat against and be like, hey, you can go use my 5 chatbots, but like good luck building it on your own, right? An agent for us is something that can run the entire process on its own. And there's really kind of like 2 main types of agents. Agent number 1 would be it takes over your computer. So like if I want to build an agent to go look at all of your LinkedIn profiles and like connect with you and send you a note, I most likely have to use a computer agent because LinkedIn hates automation. So I'm going to build a computer agent that makes it seem like a real human's doing it. That's about the only, or if I was, yeah, there's some like crazy, most agent stuff that controls your computer, like it's very niche, it's very specific use. Or you have just like a normal agent. So like I might build an agent in N8N or Relevance, which are agent platforms, and they're going to do a bunch of stuff. So it's like me giving it a big spreadsheet and saying, hey, here's all my leads from this event. Here's their name and their email address. And agent number one, I want you to take and go research their website, research their LinkedIn profile, read it, and come back here and write this little dossier about Joe Tate. And then agent number two, I want you to take that and look at how he answered these questions, plus the dossier on him, plus the transcript, and I want you to write an email to him. And agent number three, I want you to send that email. And agent number four is listening, going, wait for Joe to say something back. And so that would be, and like I started it by uploading a spreadsheet, and then I walked away. And it was just chugging along and doing its thing. And so that, like a real, when we talk about agentic AI, it's normally meaning something triggers it. And it might not even be a person. Like I could have triggered it because you filled out that AHA slides and automatically threw it to an agent, started chugging away and like sent you a text if I duct taped them all together. But normally when you hear somebody saying, we're going to build agents, it's we're going to build something that you give it a goal, a project, and it's doing its thing without you. You don't want to do that until you've nailed the process and the prompt and the flow. And that's where a lot of times we're getting like a little ahead of ourselves. Like building an agent that you're just going to let loose and be like, when I say we have a sales opening, you're going to just like write a job ad, post the job ad, build screening questions, start screening people. And I've never actually run that flow with generative AI and made sure I like the output. You have to question like, who's going to check its work? Are we going to check its work when it blows up? And that's where a lot of us are getting in trouble. We're just like, I don't make any money teaching you guys ChatGPT. I'm not ChatGPT. If I wanted to make money, I'd sell you some agents. But then I didn't teach you how to go prove your process first. And most likely it's going to mess up. That makes sense. So that's kind of like, watch the terms. We're still in like early day fuzzy land. And so everybody's trying to attach themselves to a really cool term. And GBT was not it. Just in case you're curious, was not it. Who's got another question? I think we're out of time. I'm more than happy to stick around because I mean, in a few minutes, if you're playing bingo, we're going to throw some more bingo calls. And after the last session. Yeah, on that first slide, if you scan it, and if you guys shoot me an email, at the top is my email. If you're like, hey, Ryan, will you build this template for whatever? I'd be more than happy to throw some templates in there that you can get access to. Yeah, this at least was like, get you started. Any other questions? Where did we rate on the like what we expected 1 through 10? Did we crack the 10 mark? There you go. That's and to be honest, like if you like, I didn't like say this loud enough. Like there is something that will unlock in your brain when you start building a tool for yourself to use. It is like a human instinct that's like, holy crap, I'm powerful. And so if you will just spend, you get where you build a tool for somebody else and did you see how excited she was? Oh my gosh, I built this tool. Like that's a big unlock for a lot of people of like, oh my gosh, I can build my own things. It's like Tom Hanks when he creates fire, right? Thank you guys.